Good evening, people, if anyone is watching. I am just having a very bored time, and I just thought I would do some painting stuff tonight. And the fact that I have StreamYard, I'm paying for it. I haven't done a live video for a little while. I just thought might as well use it and make a video whilst I'm doing stuff. Plus, this way I don't have to do any editing because it's already done because they record it, which is always nice. And if anyone is here, feel free to ask me anything in the chat. Yeah. I am doing just the most casual of videos purely because just talking about Star Wars really in my own head, as you do, as a big Star Wars fan. Someone asked me the other day, which really sort of threw me off a little bit. Someone actually asked me why I love Star Wars, and that I found very not off-putting, but I don't think I've ever actually been asked if like why I like Star Wars, weirdly, um, or what I love so much about it, because it is not. It is rather fanatical, and it has been since I was a kid. So my very first thought thing about Star Wars was when I was very young. We went to Planet Hollywood, the restaurant, which is where they have all the props and wondrous things laying about. And there was this shaking the paint, by the way. And we were sat at the table for my sister's birthday, and there was this crazy big block with a man's face in it next to us. And that face and everything turned out to be Han Solo. So what it was the wonderful, what do you call it, Han Solo and Carbonite, which I just thought was really cool. Oh, hey Stugs, how's it going? Um, and I was just, I remember asking my dad, I was like, Dad, what is that? Like, what's going on with all that thing going up there? And my dad couldn't quite remember. It'd been a while since he'd seen Star Wars. So my dad's explanation of what Han Solo and Carbonite was, from his memory, was quite simply that there was a guy called Han Solo, and there was this big alien. He owed him some money, and what he did was he pushed him into some rock, which is what you see there. I was thinking, oh wow, okay. You know, this is a young boy who's never seen the films or anything, and this is the glorious explanation I've just had there. I'm thinking, so in my imagination as a child, I'm thinking Jabba the Hutt is this giant 8-armed spider monster, and he's literally grabbed a guy called Han Solo and slammed him into rock, and that is what Han Solo and Carbonite is. Then my dad said, "You know, we'll have to see. Well, I'll have to get them on video. I'll have to show you. You've got to see the Star Wars film, son." So that is exactly what happened. Was we went to Lakeside, which is somewhere, a big shopping centre in the UK. We got them on VHS. Well, we went to get them on VHS, couldn't get them on VHS. Sorry. This was around 1997, and that is when the big special edition changes were coming into the Star Wars universe, as they were, being released in the cinema. So they got them on the VHS, but the condition was that I could see them in the cinema first, which was really cool. So I was only allowed to pick one after I saw them on video, and I chose Return of the Jedi, as you would. And the funny thing is, despite the fact that I've been a Star Wars fan since I was 7 years old, I am in this room full of Star Wars stuff. I have a borderline encyclopedic knowledge of Star Wars. Don't remember where I live half the time, but I do remember all the background characters and aliens in Jabba's palace, etc. Don't think I've actually ever seen the original non-90s Star Wars films, weirdly. And I had this conversation with my good friend Dave, who sometimes goes by Dave of the Dead, if you ever seen him in the comments and stuff. He's my very dear friend, and he's the one who has all the cool toys. He gets all the big things like the Razor Crest and the Ghost, and very kindly lets me play with them and put them on my channel, despite the fact that I don't have them. We started sort of comparing notes about something. So we were talking about the amazing changes of McClunky, that the random Disney thing, when he got put onto the streaming service. Okay, what the hell is McClunky? And I didn't know about it. And then sort of started talking about changes. He said about the Yub Nub song, like Yub Yub, like the end song. I'm thinking, I don't remember there being. What song are you talking about? And turned out, I think I've only seen the special editions because that's what I grew up with. They were my Star Wars, effectively. Oh, hey, Andy Roberts and Andy Hayes. Wow. Hello, Andy's. How H in your chat causing bother. How is my little cocaine bear? Do you know what? I have not done the cocaine bear impression for a while now since I've been out of the loop. But I would say cocaine bear is very happy. He's taking things slowly, one day at a time. And there's Michael Wine. Hey, Mikey, how's it going? So Mikey is a good friend of mine from back, and this bit's going to shock you now that I used to be a gymnast for 14 years. And I know you're thinking, Ryan, with that athletic body, surely like you could still just jump back into it. No, my dear friends, that is unfortunately those days are well and truly behind me. But the friends aren't, which is always lovely. But yeah, so I've never actually seen the original Star Wars film. So I have got the blue box ones on VHS because I still have my TV with the VHS built into it because, as we can see from behind me and all the other things I talk about, I'm really good at just sort of not, holding on to things. So the plan is to actually sit down and watch them fully with the Jedi rocks, the Yub Nub, and all that. So it'll be good fun. So what I'm doing, which, like I said, I've just done this because I'm painting, and I just thought, you know, what the hell? Um, the reason I'm painting stuff is because I come up with a couple of ideas recently. So my mental health has not been brilliant recently, and I've taken a step back from a lot of things. As you can tell, I'm not, step down from the Geek Week because as much as I enjoyed it, every Sunday night was a bit much. So I am just coming back to just doing some things that I want to do for a while. Some of that's been customizing stuff. So what am I customizing at the moment? I am a big fan of this vehicle. I don't know why. This was always a favorite vehicle of mine as a kid. Always really liked it. It's the MTV. It's one of the famous little mini rigs. It's all a bit crazy. And I found a McDonald's toy from my childhood that it always reminded me of, which is this one. This is from like a space thing. Goes up like that. I am in the process of turning this into like a droid drone version of this. And I have a few of these. And this is one of those things that's been on my plans to do for a very, very, very long time, but have not got around to doing it because, as with most things, life has been in the way. So yeah, I've been taking things slowly, and if anyone looks at my Instagram, I have been doing a few more customs, which has been quite fun to do recently. One of the things I have recently done is, so if anyone is familiar with the Power of the Force Ronto, which is this one. So the Ronto was from the 90s Star Wars special editions. I always really loved this creature, and I always sort of wondered what it would be like if it was done in vintage style. So I have done exactly that. I have done one up in vintage style. So I've gone for a solid colour, solid black eyes. What I've done is I painted this solid grey. I got to use my Dremel for the first time ever, which I've never used. That was good fun. I've made a seat so that a vintage Jawa can sit in it. And I've used the net from the Chewbacca, like C3PO ones. So what I've made effectively is what I think a vintage Ronto would be like. So that's been good fun, and that's been the project I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'll be putting pictures up on my Instagram. Another one I did recently was I made a playset out of something that's actually from a train set. This playset, this is from a Hornby Dinosaur Attack train set. I got this at a military show for very little money, and I've painted it up to be an Imperial outpost. I've used stickers from Thank You Toy Polloi. Good old Toy Polloi has got all the vintage sticker sheets pretty much on his website for free as PDFs. So you can download them and you can print them out yourself. So I've made some, and I've used ones from the Rebel Troop Transport and from the Imperial Star Destroyer. I've kind of made this. Four features there. It's got a crane. I just thought it had a really cool look. This is like a speeder bike repair bay, but that was actually originally something where the trains used to go in on a track or something like that. So I have changed that recently. So yeah, that's what it means. I've just been doing these custom figure jobs. Now, why I love Star Wars, this is the question I got asked. Power of the Force figures are great. They are great, actually, and I think they're underrated. And they're also some of first things I had when I was a kid, because growing up with kids Star Wars in the 90s, that's the first thing that comes up is the He-Man type Star Wars figures. Um, so yeah, that's always good fun. Andy H, was it ever used in the movies? Do you know what? I don't think it was ever used in the movies. I believe it features weirdly in a Ewok comic recently, the anniversary one. I think it makes an appearance. So yeah, the idea behind, because I love this vehicle so much, and like I said, when I was a kid, this just reminded me so much. So this is going to be black wheels. I had to buy a special set of screwdrivers because the screws for McDonald's toys are, that's not going to show, is it? Are actually triangles. They're not normal screw heads. So taking it apart to paint it has been a bit of a nightmare. However, it is quite useful to know that there is a way still to open them all up. So I'm going for a standard Imperial black and grey because that seems to be the main feature for the Empire. Let's be honest. So that's been quite nice. It's been therapeutic to just sit and paint and get some stuff done, some old school projects that I wanted to do for ages, just never got round to. So yeah, why I love Star Wars. I think when I was a kid, one of the first things that really drew me to Star Wars um, was that I hadn't seen anything like it before. My dad was a big Star Trek fan, and I really enjoyed Star Trek, and I still really enjoy Star Trek. I am a man of two fandoms, the fandom menace. But let's be honest, Star Wars isn't Star Trek. Star Trek's very much about peace and exploration, and Star Wars is, well, it's the lived-in universe, isn't it? It's just something that happens there. It's not necessarily about the discovery. It's about the fact the idea is it's always been there. It's a long time ago in a galaxy far away. It's all very established. Everything's dirty looking. Everything's used and lived in. So I don't think I'd really seen much like that before when I was a kid. The other thing is, it was actually the toys was a big pull. So when I'd sort of seen Star Wars, I had then gone down to Swansea, where a lot of my family live. My late uncle John, he worked in a second-hand shop in Swansea. I went in there, and he gave me my very first two Star Wars figures of all like ever in life, vintage ones as well. They were a Greedo with no weapons and a squid head with no accessories whatsoever, and they were just the most bizarre, strange, exciting, fascinating things as a kid to see. There was this green guy with like a fish head, which reminded me of Stingray. I was a big Stingray fan as a kid and an adult. Anything I was a fan of as a kid is very rare that I'm not a fan of as an adult because progress and all that. But and that was insane. And then there was Squidhead, and they really just that was Squidhead. It will always be one of my favorites because of that, because of those initial just sort of what the heck is this? And then he gave me a yellow check sheet which had all these figures on it. And I remember seeing them all and just thinking like this what a colourful array of characters, the creatures. It was so exciting to see because obviously didn't have the internet, back then. It was just a case of looking up and at this one sheet and just making your choice. The other thing is like a Man, for example, which is a figure that I was really drawn to because it was so different. I always, always, always thought it was black and yellow, not green and yellow, because of the way it was printed on the sheet. So I was so blown away when I finally saw one in person, which took quite a long time. It's quite a rare figure, obviously, being the last 17. And I was quite blown away when he was green. And I've always wanted somehow to get maybe a second Man to paint black. And, but it's an expensive one to customize. And I missed out when Dan Solo had a load of them. I should have got one of those repro ones to do it on, maybe. But oh, maybe if I'll see if someone does like a 3D print one at a reasonable price, and then I'll give it a go. Do you make up background stories for them? I do sort of like in my head, which trying to sound as little like a maniac as possible. I do for some of these sort of things I create, like these droids, for example. So Imperial Recon drones, I think I might call these. On the idea that a bit like the MTV can go all different terrains like the vehicle. And I think the idea will be that they can be unleashed a bit like probe droids, but under like sort of rugged terrain on maybe planets without much gravity or anything that wouldn't be suitable for something like a normal probe droid to go on. So they would need to have something with wheels, on the ground, like a physical presence. So I think maybe that would be it. But sometimes I make up backstories for what I create. So I called the title of the video like "Why I Love Star Wars, Why I Hate Star Wars," why I don't know what to do without it, just because that was what popped into my head. Sounds like I'm writing some kind of weird little memoir book thing. Um, I am a very positive person. I always try and be very positive. The thing I don't like about Star Wars is unfortunately a big chunk of the fandom, especially in the vintage community, but even more so since this Disney era of Star Wars. I didn't like it when people were so vile to people or fans of the prequels. I always thought that was really uncool, fair. I loved those films because I was, you know, when Phantom Menace came out, I was 9 years old, so it was exciting for me because I was Anakin Skywalker when I saw that film. So everyone likes to say like, oh, that doesn't work, and they weren't the real films, and blah blah blah. And look what they've done to poor like Jake Lloyd's life, Ahmed Best. I mean, I know he's had a bit of comeback recently, bless him, but now everyone's like, oh, we always loved you. It's like, no, you didn't. You hounded him, and borderline ruined his life because of a character he played. It's just sad. And the funny thing is, what? Never really minded Jar Jar Binks as a kid. Don't massively mind him now. I can see why people don't like him, but didn't really bother me. As a kid, kind of thought it was funny. My mum really liked him. My mum still really likes Jar Jar Binks. Finds him really funny. There's a bit of Star Wars for everyone. That's the interesting thing about Star Wars. So many characters and crazy creations that, yes, some of it is for you, some of it's for someone else. Bits and bobs. And there's so much of it now. The good thing is you really can pick and choose what you would like to watch and what you don't want to watch. You're not limited by only having one or two little films or one series, two series. And that's absolutely fine. You can like what you like and you can dislike what you like. However, what you should not do, though, is be a complete arsehat on the internet to everyone who has a different opinion to you. For example, today, even, I'm part of a really cool group, actually. Report Stream for the Love of Binks. For the Love of Binks would be a good name for a channel, actually. Maybe I'll change my name from Ryan Speaks Geek to For the Love of Binks. I am part of a really cool expanded universe Star Wars group, but it's more based on the old school expanded universe. Which, hats off, I actually do prefer the old school expanded universe, even with all the amazing series and some of the films we've had and everything. I still prefer the old expanded universe we had in place. I do, I just do. Shadows of the Empire was a huge unfollows. Thanks, Andy. Shadows of the Empire is still one of my absolute favorite things. I recently made a Cliff Wamper vintage style and baby one from the next 17 in that style from that game. But I'm not going to discredit other things. I'm not going to bash other people for it. And interestingly, the sequels, you know what? I like parts of the sequels, but as a cohesive story, the three sequel films, I'm not the biggest fan of. I still love a lot of bits in it. The thing is, I'll still watch them. I still like a lot of the characters. I think there were missed opportunities, but there is in everyone, even in some of the original trilogy films and prequel films. There's always bits that are better than others and not as good as others. Like, let's be honest, who's actually a fan of Leia kissing her brother? It's very weird, but we just skip over that bit. But Adam Driver's got a bit of a wide chest and has his shirt off, and everyone's like, "Oh God, what's all this about?" Dude, kisses his sister. All cool with that. Very selective bunch. But that's one of the things I don't like about the Star Wars, and which seems almost a bit ironic, really, that I'm moaning about the things I don't like in Star Wars. And one of that thing I'm disliking is the fans, but also it's like the repro people as well. Now, I collect not for value. I don't. I collect because I love the figures. I love the stories I can make with them. I love the things that I can do with the toys that make like a really cool setup. I don't collect for value, so I'm not that bothered about repro. Not repro. I think it will get to the point with the weapons, especially, that there are so many out there now, and they are so good that at some point there will not be a way to tell. People will think there's a way to tell because people always think there's a way to tell, but at some point there probably won't be. the other thing is, I don't even know how the future generations are really going to care that much about vintage or not vintage and stuff like that. Because at some point, rather depressingly, in the next X amount of years, there will be no one alive who was out when the first Star Wars came out in the cinema. No one will be alive who saw it for the first time and be like, "Oh, they don't understand," which is weird, very, very weird. My take on Star Wars, much like everything else in life, mate, is that you like what you like and don't give two hoots for those who say you're wrong for liking them. Absolutely. I think the thing I object to once, so I was in a repro group. Sorry, not in a repro group, just in a group, which is quite a big group, which I'm no longer part of, collectors group, and quite a prolifically and well-known one. But shan't name names and that. But a guy had very excitedly put a picture up about his Slave One that he'd very recently. It was his childhood Slave One, and it was really battered. And he really just wanted it to look like for himself, not for like an increase in value, but just for himself. He really wanted to make it look like he did when he opened it on Christmas morning. So he got some new stickers online from I believe it's from Zach Barris, who does amazing stickers by the way, who I use all the time. He did this. He put it online, and what happened was uh, he got basically shunned. People made really horrible jokes about him dying, throwing him off a cliff, burning people who collect repro. And I liked the post because the guy was really happy with it. I thought it was quite a sweet little story. I got a warning from the admins for liking a post that encouraged repro. I asked the question, quite fairly in my mind, well, what about the comments basically saying that this guy should die? I said, surely that's got to be flagged up as well. To which I get told, no, it's all light-hearted. That doesn't seem very light-hearted to me, saying that people should die. And then you've got people like Junk Man. Now, I don't watch that Junk Man anymore, and mainly because I just don't like the way he does things. He's so unpleasant. There's sneakiness, there's duplicity, there's just going after people for the sake of it. There was a young woman recently that he's gone after online um, that had got some stuff from Hasbro, and she was really happy with it. He then absolutely went to town and tried to, has been trying to discredit or destroy her and stuff like that. It's really unpleasant for no reason. Like, he's got nothing to do with her. She didn't even mention him. I doubt she probably even knew who he was before. And he does stuff like that. That's the bit of Star Wars I really don't like. So these toxic people doing toxic things. And the funny thing about toxic is toxic, just in my mind, used to be a song by Britney Spears. Now it's all about behaviours and stuff like that. But I just don't know why people have to be such dicks to each other all the time. Like, surely, there's enough going on in the world and bigger things happening in the world that we can not be dickheads about something we supposedly all love together. The whole point is that we're all these big fans of Star Wars, and you know, we just love this thing so much, blah blah blah, and then everyone is so horrible to each other online about it, and no one's allowed to have a different opinion. It can't be that you like this and I like that. It has to be you're wrong for liking this and I'm right for liking this, and this stuff shouldn't exist. And Disney have ruined Star Wars. Well, if you don't like the new stuff, that's fine, but how has that ruined the old stuff? Because you're still watching it. Last time I checked, they haven't deleted the original films, and if you really want to, there's ways to find it. There's plenty of bootleg Blu-rays of like original prints and stuff like that. So who knows? Who knows? But anyway, so Graham's just said, show us what you're working on. So Graham, it's Graham with the next 17. You know, I was talking about earlier. I have finished my first one, so you get the preview of this because so this is, like I said, to go with this. This is the droid. This is the Happy Meal toy in question. It's from like a space themed McDonald's toy, and I've turned it into this. So this is going to be like an Imperial attack droid. I might add some different colors to it just for something extra, but I've just gone for gloss black on the wheels, the main body bit, grey on the body here, like on the main mechanism, and a red for a visor. So happy with how that turned out. We should have to see how it dries. That's always different. Something else I've been working on is let's be honest, since Baby Yoda came on the scene, Baby any kind of collectible is, or character is always like popular at the moment. Obviously, we have had so far the Baby Bantha to go with the Stan Solo Bantha, the Baby Dewback to go with the Dewback from Garden State Kaiju. We've had my favourite, and Graham knows this, the Baby Wampa to go with the Wampa. What we didn't have though was the Baby Rancor to go with the Rancor. So I've been working on the Baby Rancor. Now, Baby Rancor is nothing really more than the 90s Action Fleet Micro Machines Rancor. And I just think scale-wise, it will work nicely. Design-wise, it's probably closer to the vintage one than anything else. So yeah, Baby Rancor with Big Rancor. The funny thing is, I'm supposed, I was thinking about saving all these for my Instagram, and if you're watching this, you get to see my weird little projects that I've been working on ahead of time, which I guess is either good for you or bad for you, depending on how you want to look at it. I did get something really, really cool arrive today, which is from Pally Toys, which is the Destruction of Alderaan set. I put it together earlier. I really, really like it. I've filmed a couple of bits for it. I'm going to be doing a full review soon. Cool little thing about that is actually it comes with a little mouse droid, like sort of a resin, I think, one. What I did though, before I put, it's got a really clever little sticker on it though. It's like very reminiscent of Power Droid sticker, which I happen to have a sticker of that there. Very sort of clever. Just a really nice little add-in to the set. I decided to paint mine gloss black first, just to give it sort of a slightly more sort of vintagey feel before I put the sticker on. But yeah, that's really cool, and that playset's really cool, and I'm looking forward to sort of talking about that on a proper episode, because let's be honest, I haven't been doing many recently on my sabbatical. I've also, as you can see, the shelves are looking a bit bare and there's boxes everywhere because I'm redoing my whole setup from scratch. I'm just checking. There's nothing I'm not meant to reveal on the back yet. Nope. I think I'm safe on that one. Ah, there is actually my baby cave wamper from Shadows of the Empire, made from a baby wamper from the next episode. I do always, a lot of Star Wars things I use, the things for my Star Wars figures I use that aren't actually Star Wars. That's not uncommon for me. One of the things I definitely have used before and will always use is a figure. So again, as Doug was saying, like back in the day before the internet, it was all very different. And one of those kind of cool things that I found, I had this in my Star Wars collection and I didn't even know what it was up until probably 10 years ago. I had this chap in my Star Wars figures, and it was so Star Wars, could not work out where it's from. I originally thought maybe something to do with the Captain Scarlet Matchbox line, like the Thunderbirds one, sorry, or something like that, because it was like in a hazmat type suit. But he was just a Hoth guy to me. He was always going to be a Hoth guy, so he has been in my collection for years. I just got him at like the old boot sale for 50p or something. Actually, it turns out it's Action Force, which is made by Palitoy. Now, Palitoy are basically UK manufacturers for a lot of the vintage Star Wars stuff. That's why there's a lot of variations and why some places are impossible to get over here. Like we've got a cardboard Death Star, which is really expensive and horrible, hard to get, but we didn't get the big, awesome Tower Death Star, which is very hard to get in the UK. But we did get a lot of Action Force things. Action Force moves quite well with Star Wars, it turns out, because of the Palitoy connection. So I actually did make very recently. Oh, here's one I made earlier. I made a playset out of Action Force. This is my Imperial Gunner station, and this is for. Let's see if I've got one to hand. I think it's my box of Stan Solo here, so do bear with me for a moment because I'm pretty sure. But yeah, there are so many figures in here. That sounds like a weird brag. It wasn't. You know what? Actually, that's even Imperial Technician. I haven't got. I thought I had one of the Imperial Gunners to hand. I don't. I have got an Imperial Weapons Technician, which will do just nicely for the example. So the idea is the figure fits in there, and it's an Imperial Gunner station. I thought it's a shame they didn't think about this back in the day, because all I have done paint-wise is turn this base from green to grey. I've left the cannons the colour they are. I've left most of the stickers the way they are. I've removed a few that say Action Force or like something more military than Star Warsy. And yeah, it's great. It rotates. That's all it does. It's just a like an action laser platform. And I've just turned it into a vintage Imperial gunner station. And it's a shame because I thought if they thought about it, they could have easily manufactured this for the Star Wars line because it really could have been something on the Death Star. And we get to see all those scenes with the Imperial gunner shooting the lasers on the Death Star tower, and like one easy thing this could have been to mock up back in the day. Shame they didn't, but I had the idea ages ago, and I finally got around to doing it now. I've got a few other playsets in the works. I've got an expansion to my Ewok village, which is currently underway, which I can show you a little preview of. So this is from a Chap May playset. I sort of, when I look out at toys, I sort of look at what the potential for like vintage could be. So here, what I've done is I've repainted the tree to try and match more with the Ewok village kind of brown, and I've also I'm going to paint this into a different, like a lighter brown as well, to match more like the supports, the fence, and the fire pit panels. I've kept these as the original color because the original base color of this is actually very, very close to the Star Wars panel, like the actual base part of the Ewok village. So I really think this is going to be a nice outpost. So this is Chap May. So really cool, really happy with that. That's one of the other plays that's been working on. There's two different Playmobil ones. One is an entire Hoth base. One is an Imperial outpost, which is going to be for my Sith Ethan Mon variant from the next 17, because I just love the character so much that I have created a backstory for him. So he's got his own Imperial outpost in the outer rim. So that's really cool. That's coming along nicely. I'm making very minimal changes to that actually from its original design. Other things that I use in my Ewok village that are not from Star Wars is this cage. This is again Chap May. This is from like a jungle safari. These cages look again so close to it. It's actually kind of unreal. I might take the wheels off because they're from like a Jeep type thing, so it might make it flat. But the good thing about this is it sits perfectly in Scout Trooper. So if you want a very miserable looking Scout Trooper, that's a good way to do it. Or you can pop your creatures in it as well. So a lot you can do. Oh, that one actually works really well. The do back. Maybe I'll keep that one in there. So yeah, that's always good. I've always loved using non-Star Wars things in Star Wars to expand the universe. So that's always been really fun to do. So yeah, so that's one of the things I dislike about Star Wars is unfortunately that part of the fandom, and why I don't know what I'd do without it. For exactly sort of the reasons why I guess I started doing this video really, because at a time in my life when things have been quite difficult, I've had quite a rough few years, sadly. Me and my lovely wife, and I, first and foremost, couldn't do anything without my wife. My wife is my absolute everything, and I would give up Star Wars in a heartbeat. I really would. She's the most incredible, kind and wonderful human being, and what the hell she's doing with me, I will never ever understand. But I should just be grateful every day that she hasn't worked out not to be. So, but and the other big one of my big constants in life is Star Wars. It's been a constant when I've been lonely. It's been something I can turn to when I feel ill. One of my comfort things is watching two made-for-TV Ewok movies. Because when I was a kid, they were comforting. Um, it's familiarity. When you feel a bit lost and strange, you've got Star Wars, and if you know that universe so well, you kind of feel like you're part of it. I like the fact that I can look around in lots of these other toy lines and things I see and go like, actually, I can use that for Star Wars, or wouldn't that be good in my Star Wars display? And I think that's another lovely thing, is that when you're really involved in a franchise, you really can just start looking around and going, what can I do to change this into something like Star Wars? How can I expand my Star Wars world? One of the customs I'll be doing soon is based on this, which is like one of the Playmobil ones, and that will definitely be going into the old what do you call it, paint jobs to be more in keeping with the vintage colours and stuff. Oh, hi Jack, and hey SW, thank you very much for watching too. So yeah, so I don't know what I'd do without it in a lot of ways, because Star Wars is that kind of safety net because it's a constant. There will always be Star Wars for me, thankfully, whether it's in figure form, comic book form, film, anything, toys, you name it, it will hopefully be there. So I think that's one of those things where I don't know what I'd do about it. But like I said, I would trade it all in a heartbeat. If it was a choice between my wife and Star Wars, it would always be my wife. And I suppose my family as well, if they're watching. I'm joking, of course, my family. My mum, so we used to have this thing called the Essex Chronicle. It used to come out on Wednesday nights, but realistically, it was delivered on Thursday mornings. But if you were really sharp, you could get it on the Wednesday night. The funny thing about the Essex Chronicle was they had what was called the classified, so people selling stuff, which was always really cool. And it's also how I got all my games consoles. But what you used to do, it used to be like a race to get this because all the adverts for the classifieds would be in there, and you would see things like Star Wars collection or Star Wars toys or Star Wars figures, for example, or Transformers lot and blah blah blah. Because obviously there was no internet really, or very basically, a lot of people were just clearing out lofts. There was kids were growing up, they didn't want the toys anymore, but there wasn't the big knowledge there was now. So what you'd have was this big race to be the first one to call because it was effectively a dib system. You'd have to call and say like, yes, I'll take that please if it's still available. I'll have that. And some of the stuff we used to get, but my mum, that's her, used to drive all around the country and all over the place just to try and get some of these amazing bundles and stuff. And it's funny, you appreciate it as a kid, but you appreciate it more as an adult when you find out how far my mum used to drive for these things. So one of the crazy things, there was a Transformers lot that my mum found. It's like coming up for my birthday. I was really excited. It sounded like a really exciting bundle. And the funny thing is, because I hadn't seen what all the Transformers didn't have the internet, I didn't know what was going to be in this lot. So it was really exciting. So my mum would go out and this particular Transformer time though, my mum said she was about 50% sure she might have been getting murdered. Which now I'm like, why the hell did you go? But mum was like, a mother's love, I guess. But she basically met this guy. In the end, it was like in a shopping centre car park, and it was like done out the back of a boot, like it was a dodgy drug deal. But it did. Funny enough, that was the lot that had my absolute one of my childhood treasured toys, which is in a safe box in the other room for the moment, while I'm shifting stuff around. But it's Action Master Blaster because Blaster is my favourite Transformers character. I know we're talking about Star Wars, but bear with me. And that came from this lot, rather crazily. But there was something so like you get birthday money and then there'd be the Chronicle. But one particular one we went to, this guy had all of it, like so much Star Wars stuff. I remember we went in there. I think it was someone like Billericay, and it was just everywhere. There was so much. Me and Mum, we were just like in awe. Mum, Dad, and that. But he had them all laid out on the floor in rows, like all the figures, and he had multiples of most of them as well. A lot of army builders, and I've still got pretty much all of them to this day. Now he had ones with weapons and ones without the weapons. The ones without the weapons were like £4, and the ones with weapons were like £5. Like it was stupidly cheap and different. But my mum, because I was just quite young at the time, and it wasn't so much about collecting the weapons and stuff. It was about getting the characters and army building, having those adventures and stuff. My mum was like, "Oh, we'll just take the ones without the weapons." If only she'd known, as she still says to today, she would have bought the ones with the weapons, put the weapons in a Ziploc bag, and hidden them away until I was old enough really to appreciate them. But it was just insane, and there really was like layer blasters and all the sorts of rare ones and Endor guns, which thankfully I did, excuse me, pick up a lot of in later years. But yeah, just a bit of a crazy one. That was the awesome thing, we used to do. But it's just those situations my mum used to put her in, bless her, just to get out there. Well, there was one time my dad, when I was very ill, at home, my dad was like, right, go downstairs to my study. Very ill, home from school. And he'd gone like to the second-hand market with my mum and that. He's like, right, turn around the chair, and there was the Imperial Star Destroyer, Jabba's the one-man sail skiff, and I think actually it might have even been this. But I didn't know what the Star Destroyer was. I was just really excited that it was more Star Wars. Very excited. I didn't know what the Star Destroyer was because I didn't even have the Tom Arts price card. I really had no idea what this toy was. And the only thing I could think of, because the sail barge was sort of sticking out the front section of the Star Destroyer, I almost convinced myself for a bit that it was meant to be the sail barge. Excuse me, because in my defence, the Star Destroyer from the 80s doesn't even really look like a Star Destroyer. It's sort of just a thing. Now I can appreciate it for a really good fun place. I'm in the middle of restoring mine. But yeah, it's just funny. But yeah, there's really wonderful memories I have growing up with Star Wars, and it's not just um, getting more and more and more. It's about what some of those things mean to me. Some of my most treasured figures are very silly little things. I've got a teeny baby's McDonald's toy that was a camel. My mum had cut off the ears and sewed them to the top of its head, like its front two. Sorry, it cut off my mum cut off the front legs and stuck them on as big ears. And my mum made me a tom tom out of it for my figures, but I still have. This is very very treasured. My dad took my extra C3PO, like Power of the Force 2 one, my extra C3PO, and this Stars action thing. It had a face similar to the Death Star droid. My dad took them and he painted them all up silver for me, but with this really cool metallic spray paint. And again, they're just some of those things that just I've kept, even when I've stupidly thinned out my collection when I was a teenage and didn't really have anyone else who was interested in Star Wars. I would have thought I didn't want it anymore. How foolish I was. But I always kept those bits. Those bits will always stay. It's funny, they're probably more valuable to me in my collection than a lot of the other things are really. But there you go. One of the next sort of weird little customs I'm going to be doing is using this very beat up scout trooper. I'm going to be turning him into a snow scout because that's just one of those little expanded universe things I've discovered. I say recently, in later years, which I think is really really cool. Yo, Jovi1, how you doing, my friend? Jovi1 is a fantastic hip hop artist. He does a lot of sort of sci-fi and Star Wars themed sort of tracks. They're on Spotify. I can really recommend. I have a couple I listen to. It's a nice bit of easy chill, but also he's got really good. He started doing some of the live streams on his Facebook, so please do go check out Jovi1. Highly recommend. Um, so yeah, I'm just going to turn him into this sort of the Snow Scout that seems to have been in more recent things. When it was, and I'd seen this in more recent years, not in recent years, when I was younger, sorry, in years gone by, I should say. And it was in the Star Wars Incredible cross sections, which are these books you used to get the visual dictionary and the Incredible cross sections. And now these were things that which were like, to me, were gold dust because they were like these little nuggets of information. Again, internet wasn't as readily available. I'd scour all these images and all these little things. And in there is when I found out about the fact that the AT-AT had speeder bikes in it, and you're like, what the hell? What is this? And yeah, it's a really cool revelation. So, and then we did eventually get a Hasbro sort of snow scout trooper and speeder bike. So I figured it's only right that we try and make a Kenner one because that would be foolish not to. Said absolutely no one ever. But what can you do? So yeah, that is one of my next projects. The funny thing is, I've recently, like I said, emptied my shelves. I'm having a bit of a resort through. I'm just trying to work out what I want to do project wise. Also on YouTube, because I have sort of changed a bit of directions recently. I've been doing a lot of different things with different people and working with a lot of different people, which I have really, really, really enjoyed. And I'm still very dear friends of people I work with. And which, speaking of which, you want to check out, by the way, Geek Week in Review on Sunday nights. Fantastic show. Jacob's Toys and Super Sorrel. Really lovely chaps. I believe they're doing a show live in person soon. I think in Bolton, I think I saw. So do go and check them out if you're in that area. And if not, just give them a watch on YouTube. I had a great time on that show. It's just it got to the point where with Sunday nights, and also like we all have very different interests. I think I wanted to talk a bit more vintage Star Wars, and if they don't collect it, they don't collect it. I can't really contribute much to Marvel Legends, but they're lovely guys, and I'm sure I'll be on. I'll pop in and make another appearance on there soon. But I mean, Jake's been one of my dearest friends for like, and Jake's like 18 years, I think, by now, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, they've got a great show. Really do check them out. Ash has really moved into like a horror type thing. Super Sorrel, really good stuff. Mr. Stevie's going to be on our like on this channel soon. My good friend Steve Evans. Um, we're going to be on here just talking things. He's got a really cool thing he started doing with his YouTube now called Mr. Stevie Toy Talks. No, Toy Tales. Thing is, I can't say it, and he can't say it even when he does his own intros. So I don't feel bad about not pronouncing it properly. So if you are watching that, Steve, but yes, do go check that out. That is really good, and that's just talking about like sort of his adventures with collecting, and also he happens to work for Hasbro as well. So he's got some interesting stories about how he got into the industry and things like that. So but he's just a really nice guy. Also from this sort of neck of the woods near me, a place called Colchester originally, which was lovely because we actually got to meet up in person this year, just gone, and that was really lovely. Got to show him a beautiful shop called Nerd Base we have in Battlesbridge, which is sort of mine and Dave of the Dead sort of, I guess, local nerd shop, and it has an amazing array of all sorts of vintagey things. So really cool. Um, so yeah, that was really cool. So he's going to come to the channel soon. Tony Analog Toys. We're going to be hopefully doing something soon. So Analog Toys is hopefully going to be on the channel. Like Tony and I are going to be talking about sort of Action Force a little bit. Also because I have got the Desert Rat figure, which is based on himself, like the vintagey style one, which is really exciting. I got it on card, and I've said to him that I was going to open it on air because I can't. I really like the card as well, but I like my figures loose. So I've been very, very patiently holding in. Unfortunately, we both double booked ourselves at two different times. We've gone to do a live stream, so hopefully, hopefully this side of Christmas. If not, it'll be in the new year. But that would be really cool because Analog Toys is a fantastic channel. Tony's a really wonderful guy. Again, if you don't know him for whatever reason, I don't know how you wouldn't know if you're a big toy YouTube watcher. Go do check out Analog Toys. Does a lot of cool things, and of course, obviously Retro Blasting does a lot of collabs with him, and we always like a bit of retro blasting like French. I'm just sitting here listing like other people, right? I should be saying like, oh, come and watch my channel and subscribe to that. Just so far, I've listed about like 5 or 6 different people. I'm saying you should go and watch rather than watch me. So, of course, like Miracle on 34th Street, I'll just tell you where to go and get better entertainment instead of sticking around here. So yeah, so Tony from Analog Toys hopefully will be on this thing, which would be really lovely. And so will Steve Evans, which would be cool, just to talk toys and just retro goodness as well, because I am more of a retro person, which I did really enjoy the Marvel retro line as well. Very gutted that's currently dormant state, but yeah. But I can see I've still got a couple of people watching, which is always really nice. Like I said, I wasn't sort of I put this on here mainly to do as like a case of like, oh, you know, it will save me recording a video. It will just if it's live, it just turns up on my channel after a few days as a recorded one, which is always helpful. What about you guys? What is some of your favorite Star Wars memories? Like when you were growing up, what was the thing that got you into it? What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? I always like to know what people's things are. And although if it's hate, what you don't like about Star Wars, let's just keep it nice. Like don't be a d bag about it. Andy H, I'm still here watching you. He didn't know. He was in the shadows, like Batman was waiting for Rachel. The city just showed you what they really made. I haven't done much impressions for a while either. I used to be the guy who did lots of impressions. So it's like Moss from the IT crowd. Talks like this. Roy, he's doing Star Wars again. Obviously, Cocaine Bear is what I got most known for on the Geek Week in review, which I'm sure probably if I stayed much longer, people would have got bored of that after a while. And what was the other one? Bane, I think. And that's the voice I'm using right now. And that's the voice I'm using right now. But not this voice. So that's always good fun to do. But I had some very good advice from a good friend recently, so I'm going to be start doing more sort of videos how I'd like to do them, and I will definitely invite people to come and collab on my show. Hopefully me and Joby One at some point are going to pick up actually. and do something together, which would be really good fun because everyone's a very good friend and a very good guy. Like I said, got to go check his stuff out. If you're just joining. Um, so I'm going to be doing more stuff that I want to do, which would be nice. I don't think at the moment I can still commit to this whole like regular every Wednesday Ryan will be doing a new video. I just can't at the moment. My life doesn't really fit in with that. So I think I'll just do the videos when I can do them and to the quality I want to do them at. It'll be a mix of Transformers, sometimes it'll be Star Wars. I might start doing some shorter videos though. I've got a couple of things I did record loads for, but where I had unfortunately not been very well. So I went to New York for my very dear friend's wedding, which is really cool. I got I got COVID on the way back, which really put me out of commission. I got to do a one live stream show with my good friend Super Sorrel for our currently suspended horror podcast, which we were doing for the In Search of Darkness 90s thing, and then unfortunately I was bedridden for quite a bit after that, so that was really shit. And until then, the rest of it now has just been recouping from that, sadly, because it beyond wiped me out. Yeah. So, Andy, you're going to New York next Thursday. Can't wait, mate. You've got to check out Midtown Comics. There are actually, I think there's now 3 locations. I think I saw 2 of them when I was in the city. I got a couple of good little bargains. It's just a really good vibe. It's a really cool place. Um, you know, um, yeah. Sorry, it was just a bit that I was trying to concentrate on. Yeah, New York's a really cool place. We had a fantastic time. It was the second time we'd been. Is it going to be your first time, Andy? You're going? Oh, you've been there before. Cool. So you've done probably a lot of the touristy things, which is pretty cool. Um, that means you can sort of go and do some of the more obscure things, which is always good fun. Because a lot of the touristy things, unfortunately, are more expensive. One of the saddest things about it, though, really, is and be prepared for this, because of the change in laws recently. New York City absolutely reeks of weed, like marijuana. Like it's just so strong, and I'm not particularly against it. It's not really something I've massively enjoyed over life. I've done it loads of times before when I was younger, but you know, it's just never really been my thing. I really just don't like the smell or the taste. I think that was my main thing. Didn't mind the feeling, but the smell and the taste was just not something I particularly enjoyed. And unfortunately, New York absolutely and very solidly stinks of it at the moment because of the change in laws. Every other uh, every other shop is unfortunately a weed shop or dispensary of some kind. So if you're not a fan of it, it's not the best place. If you are a fan of it, it's your haven. My mate Tom, bless him, he was having the absolute time of his life. Couldn't believe his luck. So just very much depends on what tickles your fancy. But yeah. But then again, I've just realised I've been sort of almost aimlessly rambling now for almost an hour, which is pretty insane. And I'm pretty much done the painting I think I'm going to do tonight. So I'll probably leave it there. But thank you very much for watching, if you are watching. And if you're not watching, if you're watching it later, thank you for even clicking on it at all and listening to me amble on. I am Ryan Speaks Geek. I will be back at some point, and I'll do things my way. New York, Frank Sinatra type thing there. But lovely to see you all in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I will, speak to you all soon. Until then, geek it real. Take care, guys. He's saying that I've got to work it out. Do you know what? That's just one of those crazy things, right? You think you know how to use these bloody things, and you never do. But until then, see you later, guys.